War Eagle, guys, thank y'all so much for joining us for the first ever Navigate webinar series that's strictly geared towards pre-orientation. My name is Tess Gibson, and I serve as the coordinator of Parent and Family Programs in the Division of Student Affairs, and my office is so excited to partner with the First Year Experience office to host this session for you. So we know that sending a student to college can be completely overwhelming and kind of scary at times. So really what we want to do is help make sure that you feel completely prepared before orientation so that you can really just hit the ground running when you attend. So really quickly before we get started, I know that we have participants both through the Zoom platform as well as Facebook Live. So I just want to cover a few housekeeping items to make sure that you understand how to use this program. I know it's probably pretty new for a lot of y'all. So if you are participating through Zoom, I want to just tell you about a few features that we have. In the bottom corner of your screen, there should be a Q&A feature. From there, you can submit questions to us. We do want you to know that unless you choose to be anonymous in that, your name will appear next to it. So just make sure that you're okay with that. You also can do a Q&A feature or a chat feature directly with everyone or with the panelists alone. And so we have some folks on the back end who are monitoring that so we can answer any questions for you. You may also notice a hand raise feature that is in kind of the same area of your screen. That weirdly enough just lets us know that you have a question, but it doesn't give you a way to ask. So for that, we would just recommend if you do have questions, just to field them through the Q&A or chat features. And if you're joining us live on Facebook, you can just type your questions into the comments section. So just to give you guys kind of an idea of what the next hour or so is going to look like, we each are going to briefly talk about kind of our offices and resources for you. And then we're going to try to leave around 40 minutes in the end for strictly Q&A. So that can be camp specific or just Auburn specific questions that we have. We have both the head parent counselors here to help address those questions. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Chris Landry, who's the assistant director in the First Year Experience office.
Yeah. Thank you, Tess. War Eagle, everybody. As Tess mentioned, my name is Chris Landry. I'm an assistant director for orientation in the First Year Experience office. Our office handles transition programs for students as transfers or as freshmen. And I, in particular, work with our parent family program. So you will see me this summer at your Camp War Eagle sessions. We are very excited to have you all on our campus. We're expecting nearly 6,000 parents, family members, and guests to be with us this summer. And we are in the last stages of our training. If you can see behind me, this is our training room where our team of parent counselors and camp counselors have been throughout the entire spring semester, and then intensively over the last week, going through trainings, preparing all the behind the scenes logistics that you will see come to fruition in just a few days for some of you. We are, as Tess mentioned, hoping that this conversation will be a way for you to be better prepared for Camp War Eagle and make your time on campus as efficient as possible, because we know that some of you are traveling from farther distances, and this may be the only time that you're on campus until your student moves in the fall. So a little bit about what to expect with Camp War Eagle. For check-in information, your student should have received a confirmation packet when they confirm their session. I want to draw your attention to that packet. If you have seen this page, it is a color-coded page that has a lot of reminders on the front and the back. So I'm going to go through some of the important things on here, although the rest of the packet information is equally as important. But these are the questions that we tend to get in our office. Before your student session, they will also receive an email to their Auburn email address that has some last-minute pre-session specifics. So please make sure that your student is checking their Tiger Mail account and make sure that they are getting in the habit of doing that, because they'll be expected to do it once they're here, and their professors and organizations are sending them emails through that address. So during Camp War Eagle, all students will be staying in one of our residence halls. We'll be staying in the village this summer. So if your student has requested housing for the night before camp begins, which they should have done when they registered for camp, they'll be arriving between 5:30 and 7 p.m. The night before the session, and that's Central Time. And the specifics will be in that email that I just referenced. That will be coming a few days prior to their arrival, that include where they should go and what they should prepare to bring. For anyone that's arriving the morning of the first day of camp, which should be the majority of our families and students, check-in for students will be from 7:30 until 8:30 in the village residence halls. And then for parents and guests, they'll be checking into the Auburn Student Center from the same time frame, so 7:30 to 8:30 in the morning. So I know a lot of folks are asking what will happen at Camp War Eagle. We've got 2 full days of programming for you. And during the time that you're here, both you and your students will be in a number of presentations together and separately. You will hear from campus departments. You'll have a chance to connect with your students' academic college to learn a little bit about some of the expectations that they have for your student. And then you will get to spend some time in Jordan-Hare Stadium, which is our football stadium, to get a little bit of Auburn spirit before you leave. And then ideally, it's part of my job and part of Tessa's job. We want you to connect with each other. We want you to be able to start building those bonds to be part of the Auburn family with other new members of the Auburn family. There are schedules available for both the parent program and our student program on our website, and that's auburn.edu/CWE. And you can go check that information out there. There's also a copy of the 2017 Tiger Transitions, which is our guidebook for both of our orientation programs. All incoming students will get a copy of this when they arrive, and then we'll have 1 per family so that you'll have a copy as well. Information about the schedule, some of the departments that will be attending camp are listed in there. So you can download a PDF of that on our website. The most up-to-date information is available through an app that we call Auburn Guides. And this is an app that's used across campus for a number of programs, but for Camp War Eagle, we use it as the way to update the schedule whenever things come up. If there are changes to rooms, if there are alerts that we need to get out to everybody, we'll push it through Auburn Guides. It's available through the Apple App Store as well as through the Android store, so that if you have either of those capabilities, it's available for you. If you or your student happen to need special assistance while you're here on campus, ideally, please let us know ahead of time so that we can make accommodations and make your process as smooth as possible for you. There are mobility restrictions that we can accommodate, as well as dietary restrictions, and then other needs as well. For those and for any other questions about Camp War Eagle, feel free to contact our office, which is 334-844-4501. Moving ahead in the schedule, on the afternoon of the first day of Camp War Eagle, we will have breakout sessions. We'll have a round of breakout sessions that is just for parents, and we'll have a round of sessions that is available for students and parents to attend together. Again, those are listed in Tiger Transitions, and we strongly encourage you to take a few minutes as a family, sit down and talk about what things are most important to you, what questions do you have, what questions do your students have, what are some of those sessions that you really want to make sure that you attend while you're here, so that you can make the most of your time as a family while you're here on camp, or at Camp War Eagle. On day 2, you and your student will meet with their academic college and go through some of the requirements for their first semester here at Auburn. They will have a chance to meet with advisors in a group, and then you will hear from them as well. Their students will learn about the actual process of registering for classes in the morning, and that afternoon they'll have a chance to sit down and actually begin to register for their classes for their first semester here at Auburn. For those of you who you have a student who is interested in changing their major, or they applied with the major and they're not really sure they want to stay with it, there's some processes for that. Ideally, they would change that before they arrive at camp, but there is a way to do that when they arrive on campus on the morning of day 1. However, we must say that not all of our colleges are represented during Camp War Eagle at every session. So if your student's college is not on campus during that session, they may not be able to shift to it then. So again, contacting us in advance is important. And there's more information in that confirmation packet about what to do. So lastly, a lot of folks are wondering about what time they should plan to leave campus. Our programming goes until about 3:30 that afternoon on our second day. And so please make sure that you're planning to travel accordingly. Some of your students may be done a few minutes before then if they're registering for classes. Does not take very long, but for the most part, folks are here until about 3:30. If you are traveling through the Atlanta airport, keep in mind it's about 90 minutes away from campus, and there's a time zone shift in there. So we often recommend that you plan for about 4 hours of travel time to get from campus to your plane. So I'm going to throw it back over to Tess. So she's going to talk a little bit more about parent-friendly programs and some of the resources that they have available to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chris, for talking about those logistics. So, as I mentioned, I work in parent and family programs, which is really your office on campus. So, even though that we are separate from orientation, we do present throughout, and we just want to make sure that we are here with you for the next 4 years so that you have a resource as well. We know that students sometimes, when they have questions or concerns, they're more than likely calling home than calling our offices. So, really, my role is to equip you with everything that you need to equip your student to succeed. So we know that this is going to be just as much of an experience for you as it is for your student. And so we really just want to support you throughout. So a way that we do that is through the Auburn University Parents Association. I really hope that you have all joined, but if you haven't yet, that's completely fine. There's still plenty of time. You can just do so through online at www.auburn.edu/join-AUPA. It's really simple. You just need your student's username, which are their initials followed by usually a 0 and 3 letters, or 3 numbers, excuse me, to log on. And so it's pretty easy of a process to do. So another really cool benefit to being a member of the Parents Association is that we have a volunteer board called the Auburn University Parents Association Board of Directors. And that group are current Auburn parents and family members, and they are really here to be volunteers and really just help support you and kind of be that parent-to-parent contact when you need it. What's really best, I think, about this group is that they are regionally based across the United States. So we have 11 different regions that are represented. And so with that, if you are a family from the Midwest, say, out in Idaho, we have a mom in Boise that you could contact because we know that your needs as an out-of-state parent might be different than those who are here local in Auburn or Opelika. So as we were preparing for this webinar series, they definitely wanted to leave you all with some wisdom and some words of advice they had as they went through camp. So if y'all don't mind me, I'm worried this isn't going to be as smooth of a transition as I would hope, but I'm going to pull up the video that they've created for you guys. So give me just 1 second.
I wish I would have prepared a little bit more for Camp War Eagle and had my son prepare a little bit more for Camp War Eagle. There's so many sessions and information that doing a little due diligence beforehand and preparing for the sessions would have served both of us well.
Since we attended Camp War Eagle a couple summers back, at that point I became aware of the Office of Parent and Family Programs, and through that was introduced to the Auburn University Parent Association, the Parent Association Board of Directors, the representatives they have from the different regions. Really found that to be very useful to find out about all the resources across Auburn University, the Navigate webinar series. And really, as a parent, I think that's a great starting point. You have one portal, one place where you can go and find all the different directions you can go to.
The transition from high school to a place like Auburn University actually went really, really well. Auburn is so helpful. Organizations like the Parents Association are so great at communication, whether it's using social media to alert parents about weather or issues that may be happening on campus. The transition went really, really well. And so it's a fine line and a combination of allowing your son or daughter to grow alone and struggle and find success and perhaps deal with some failure, but also at the same time staying in contact with them. And the Parents Association, the resources at Auburn, terrifically helpful as we watched them grow up.
I think the best advice I was given in terms of keeping my student in charge of their own problems and challenges was to see my role as more of a consultant and less of a manager. And as a consultant, my job was really to kind of encourage my student to come up with their own solutions by asking them questions about, how have you thought about solving this, what's your plan, what sort of things have you tried so far, and also reminding them that they've faced challenges like this before, and I'm confident that they'll be able to overcome this one that they're facing now.
I think another thing is once the academic year starts, it's so overwhelming, or can be very overwhelming for your student. There's academics that they're getting used to, there's rush if they're interested in that, a lot of different opportunities. it's important for them to know that that's happening to everyone and that there are so many resources for both you and your parents, not only through the Auburn University Parents Association Board, but the Department of Student Affairs, and everyone is very, very helpful. Just ask. There's a resource for everything at Auburn.
Since Charlie's gone off to college and for us a long ways to college, we've developed a kind of a family cadence of communication so that we make sure as parents he gets enough time to live his own life and we can live our own. But also we have enough activities that we still feel close and bonded together. And things like Fall Family Weekend are a great thing to plan for, so you can have something maybe every quarter, a face-to-face, and keep bonded as a family.
You know, my wife and I didn't actually do much preparation. In hindsight, I think that was a mistake. You know, you're raising your high school student and you're constantly on them about their grades and their deadlines. And then when they go to college, it's almost like what's just happened. So I would recommend that parents, as they watch their children begin at a school like Auburn, text them occasionally, reach out to them. If you're within distance, go to Auburn, take them to dinner, just touch base with them, allow them, kind of like the butterfly struggling to get out of the cocoon, allow them to enjoy themselves at Auburn, to learn and grow. And I think you'll be surprised and happy at what you'll find.
Alrighty. So, as you saw from that, a lot of really positive reinforcement and some good ideas from some fellow parents who serve on the parent board of directors. As I was watching this video and thinking of kind of the best places to reiterate, I really picked out just kind of 3 themes from this. The first is preparation. I think that's huge for Camp War Eagle to just not feel overwhelmed. As Chris mentioned, you know, there's going to be lots of different sessions and things to choose from, and the schedule is live now, whether that be on the First Year Experiences website or through Auburn Guide. So you can actually sit down with your student and pick which sessions that you would like to attend in some of those breakout times. Some of those can be ones that you can go to together. Some you might want to divide and conquer. But really having kind of those intentional conversations beforehand of, you know, what are you hoping to get involved with? Maybe it's Greek life, and if so, you want to attend this session, or, you know, maybe you want to talk through, you know, some different tables to look at through the Tiger Tables Fair if they want to get a part-time job and you really want to go speak to the Career Center. Things like that that you can kind of strategically plan with one another is kind of big. And as you're looking through your schedule, we really hope that you mark some of the Office of Parent and Family Programs sessions that we have. We do a first-generation college parents session for any parent who maybe you didn't go to college or your spouse did not attend college, but your student is, and you're just trying to kind of figure out this thing as it goes. And then also too, UNIV 101 for Parents is on day 2 and is a session for all parents that's hosted by our Vice President for Student Engagement, as well as myself and Parent and Family Programs. So we really hope that you mark your schedule for those as well. Point 2 really is just sort of the resources that we have available. I think it's really important to know that college is a time where any issue that your student might face, there's probably 15 staff members who are there ready to help them. Also too, you know, we already know they have that home support. You guys are logged on to a webinar on a Sunday afternoon before even attending Camp War Eagle. So we know that they have that home support in addition to kind of the support from the school front. So just knowing that these resources are there and available for you. Sometimes it can seem a little overwhelming. I've been on Auburn's campus for about 9 years now, and I'll still will get questions and concerns from family members who call me, and I have no idea where to start. So as someone that close to Auburn sometimes struggles finding answers to questions that I have, please know that it's okay to just call and ask. That is what I am here for. So please, anytime that you have questions or concerns, just give me a call and I can get you directed to the right place. And kind of the last thing that I want to talk about from that video is really just this transitional piece. It's so crazy to me because many of you, your student either just graduated maybe this past weekend or a few weeks ago, or maybe even hasn't graduated yet they're about to attend orientation. You know, our first session is on Thursday. So it could be less than a week before graduation when they're coming to college orientation. And it's kind of like there's no magic medicine that you can take to make this transition smooth over the summer in the course of 3 months before they are a true freshman here at Auburn. So really just kind of having these conversations with them early on. I know it seems very different because many schools have text messaging systems or emails or calls, and they're updating you weekly, daily, all of these things about your students' progress. And it's going to be a little bit different at Auburn. So just kind of know that that's coming. That's going to be a conversation some of these offices are going to have at orientation. You'll hear a lot about FERPA, which is the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act. In no way, shape, or form do we want to shut parents and family members out. We want you to be involved with this process. Parental engagement is huge for retention and graduation rates. We want you to be involved. It's just knowing kind of that right level of involvement. And so we're kind of here to help with that as well. Also, too, to kind of talk through that, I love the fact that Robbie Fox talked a little bit about your role being as more of a consultant than a manager. There's going to be issues. There's going to be things that pop up where your student's going to call home, and it's going to be so easy for you to try to kind of jump in and save the day. But really, rather than doing that for them, just kind of consulting with them, about some solutions to problems and things is kind of what we really want your best role to be. So with all of that said, that's just kind of a brief overview of parent and family programs. I really hope to meet you all at orientation. But now we want to turn it over to you. So as we kind of taught you how to use those Q&A features, please utilize them at this time. Ask any and all questions. I'm going to turn it over to our two head parent counselors.
Hello, I'm War Eagle. My name is Hunter Birchfield. I'm going into my senior year here at Auburn, and I'm one of the head parent counselors for this upcoming year.
Hello, everyone. My name is Christina Egbert. I'm an upcoming junior, and I'm from Daphne, Alabama, and I'm a pre-business major. So far we have 2 questions, so keep sending some in for us. But we'd like to start off with Jason's question. So his question is, we are arriving late the evening before. How late will check-in be open the evening before? And if we get to Auburn around 10 p.m., will we need to check in the morning? So early check-in will be open until about 9:30 at night. However, if your student does need a place to stay, we will have a staff member on call to get the doors unlocked and get them checked in into our residence halls. And if your student doesn't need a place to stay, then they can just check in the next morning.
Hey, and the next question that we have is from Chris on Facebook Live, and it is, what if your student is supposed to be at band auditions at noon on Friday? So me personally, I'm actually in the band as well as working for Camp War Eagle. So auditions are kind of one of those things that are hard to navigate around. However, the band staff, Sarah Ferguson, Dr. Good, they're all so great about working with you and your schedule. It's something like a scholarship audition, you could easily contact them and get that rearranged. If it's something that's a little more set, like a percussion audition, we do have 9 other Camp War Eagle sessions, so if any of those work for you, you could easily switch over. Just contact our first year experience office. But other than that, everything at Camp War Eagle is required, and they're registering for their classes, so they definitely should be here for that.
So our next question is from Dana, and it is, will there be a tour of the South Donahue residence halls during Camp War Eagle? So yes, there will be a tour during day 1, so we'd love for y'all to go on that.
Yes, and that tour will actually be during our Orange breakout sessions. So I know Chris talked a little bit about those earlier. There's actually going to be not only for South Donahue, but also for all of our other residential areas on campus. The next question that we have is from Stephanie, and it says, do you have a recommendation as to the type of laptop that would suit a student well? Personally, I have a Mac, and I really like it. However, I have some of my best friends have PCs, and they love them as well. It's really a personal preference for your student, but also depending on the college that your student is in via Auburn. Okay, depending on the college that your student is in, they might have different softwares or techniques that you have to use on a Mac versus a PC. So that's really something that would be beneficial to ask whenever you're at academic advising here at Camp War Eagle.
Yeah, like Hunter, I also have a Mac. That's just what works easiest for me since I do have an iPhone. And at the end of the day, though, it's whatever your student's preference is and whatever is easier to carry to class for them.
Hey, the next question is from Jean, and it says, my child is on the housing waiting list. If he's still on the housing waiting list in July when he attends Camp War Eagle, will we be able to get some advice on housing options? So the waiting list really is something that they really advise you to look at other options just because we're not really sure how much housing will be available to your student. But at Camp War Eagle on the second day, we have the business fair, and representatives from several different apartment complexes in Auburn will be at that business fair. So you can talk to any of them about other housing. I really hope that your student does get the opportunity to live on campus, however, because I know we both lived on campus our freshman years, and it was a great experience.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, if they don't have the opportunity to live on campus their freshman year, they can always switch back and move on to campus their sophomore year. So our next question is from Angie, and it's where can parents find the breakout session choices? So we have two different types of breakout sessions. We have blue breakout sessions, which are just for y'all as parents and family members. And then we have orange breakout sessions, which are for guests, family members, and then also the students. And those can all be found in a book we'll give to you when you come to Camp War Eagle.
Yes. And also, if you're just really anxious, you really want to go ahead and know what you're getting into, those can also be found online on our first year experience website that Chris mentioned earlier. It's just a PDF version of our Tiger Transitions book and on Auburn Guides, the app that we talked about. Our next question is an anonymous question, and it is how do football tickets work for the upcoming year? So, during small group 2 for parents and guests, you will hear a lot about football tickets and the packages that are offered. I'm not going to go too much into detail because I really want you guys to hear that from your parent counselors this summer. But football tickets are have been working differently than in years past, so that more people get the opportunity to go to football games. So I'm really excited for that change.
And going off of what Hunter was talking about with the small groups, we know that the parent schedule is up to y'all, kind of pick and choose what you want to go to, but we highly recommend that y'all do take the opportunity to go to both small group 1 and small group 2 because our parent counselors here this summer will have many great things to tell you from their point of view as Auburn students. So our next question is from Renee, and it's will there be an opportunity to meet with the financial aid counselors one-on-one during Camp War Eagle? So at Camp War Eagle, we will have a representative from the student financial services come and speak to y'all as a whole, and then we'll also have a chance that if you do need to go speak to someone, you can do so.
Yes. So student financial services, not only will they be in a large group session, they also will have a room for blue breakout sessions that you guys can attend in a smaller group. They also will have a table at Tiger Tables, which you guys will get to go ask them one-on-one questions. And then their office is just right down the concourse, so you can easily go and talk to them if you need to at Camp War Eagle. Our next question is from Jason, and it is, my student has been assigned to South Donahue, but has not been told who his roommate is. When will that likely occur? I don't know too much personally about how the roommate system works in the residence halls, but I do know that South Donahue is a great place to live, and your student is going to have their own room and their own bathroom. So he does not know his roommate yet, but the great thing about that is if he gets along with his roommate, that's awesome. And we also have a system in place to change roommates if they don't get along as well. But that would probably occur definitely before August. Definitely over the summer, he will find out who that is. I found out around mid-June, my freshman year, so he should be getting that soon.
So our next question is, during the 2 days of Camp War Eagle, will parents and students have any free time together to explore campus and find their assigned residence halls? So during Camp War Eagle, there are a few times where students are free and with the parents, and that's going to be during orange breakout sessions, during pep rally a little bit, and lunch day too. And during that time, we really recommend you need to be sticking to the schedule, and students especially, like we said earlier, can't miss anything Tiger Talks from their schedule or they won't be able to register. Parents, your schedule is flexible, so if you do want to go explore campus, you can have some time too. But during orange breakout sessions, day 1, there will be time for all of our different residence halls on campus to go take a tour.
Yes, and both the parents and the students do get tours across campus. Ours, or you guys, is on a bus, one of our Tiger Transits, so you guys get to see sort of the outskirts of campus and some of our historic buildings. However, the students go on a walking tour, so they get to see sort of the buildings that a lot of classes are going to be held for them, and really just the inner workings of campus. And like Christina said, during that orange breakout session, there will be a time for all of you to go see a sample room We, however, do not have available for you to see your specific room in the residence hall or maybe even your residence hall, but it's all the same across the residential areas. So you will see what your student's room will look like. Our next question is, my son is registered for Camp War Eagle, but did not register me as a guest. Is there a way for me to register? Yes, there is. You can call that FYE office that we mentioned earlier. The number is 334-844-4501, and just tell them, yes, I would like to register as a parent, and they will talk you through it. But there's also a walk-up registration table on the day of Camp War Eagle. So during that 7:30 to 8:30 registration period, you can walk up to the late registration table and they'll get you a name tag and they'll get you a small group room assigned and you will get to be there.
So our next question is, what will the students in the exploratory advisory major be doing during Camp War Eagle? They'll be doing the same thing as everyone else. Everyone has that same schedule, both parents and students.
All right, and our next question is also about advising and registration. So it is, when the students go to talk to the advisors about choosing classes, will parents also be there or just the student? So it depends on the college that your student is in. I know my parents were with me for the entire advising portion, but not for registration. However, parents will typically be there for a portion of it at least. So you will get to be there with your student for some of it. And then a lot of colleges do separate the students and the parents and talk to the students a little bit more about what their schedules will look like.
So our next question, fun one, what is appropriate attire for Camp War Eagle? So for the parents and guest side of things, you will be indoors most of the day. The only time you'll really be outside is during the pep rally at the end of the day. And by that time, the sun's going down, things cool off. So for parents, I always recommend to bring a light sweater or throw to wear if you do get a little bit chilly inside. And on the student side of things, please recommend for your students to wear something very comfortable, especially wearing those tennis shoes because it is hot here in Alabama.
Right. Yes, and you, on your confirmation letter for Camp War Eagle, there is actually a what to bring. And so some of those things are shorts, t-shirts, tennis shoes, just super casual because your student is gonna be outside a lot of the day, and you don't want them to be super miserable like in jeans and a long sleeve t-shirt, because that would not be great. The next question is, if my child is undecided on a major, what type of advising will she receive to help her choose her fall class? So one of the great things that Auburn just started a couple of years ago is an exploratory major within the university college. So if your student is very undecided on a major, I would definitely encourage her to look into switching to that exploratory for her freshman year, and really getting a feel of what generic first year classes look like on Auburn's campus. And that will also help her to sort of decide which direction she wants to go. However, if your student knows that she wants to do science or knows that she wants to do liberal arts or education or business or any of those, but are not sure in what like facet, pretty much every college on campus has a business has pre-business. College of Sciences and Math has undeclared science and math. So I was actually undeclared science and math my first year just because I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to work with science. And so that's just really a way that your student can be a little bit more focused if they know they want to go in one direction, but aren't sure which branch they want to go.
So our next question is, will students be divided up into groups during tours and other Camp War Eagle activities, or will they have a friend or their roommate attending the same session with them and doing tours with them? So for Camp War Eagle, we have 36 amazing camp counselors who are in charge of being there for your students and teaching them all the ropes of Auburn. And so those camp counselors will be assigned a group of 13 students. So you might end up having your student have someone they previously knew in the group, or having someone they might kind of know, an acquaintance in the group, but it isn't likely. So we don't want to make any promises there. But I can guarantee you that throughout the day, they will become friends with the people in our group. And our camp counselors are great and do lots of fun activities and icebreakers so they can get to know other people in their group.
Hey, and our next question is, my daughter has been accepted into the Honors College. Do they have a separate agenda, or will they be doing the same thing as everyone else? So something that's changed in the past with Camp War Eagle is we do not have specific honors sessions. Honor students can go to any sessions that they choose. The schedule looks the exact same for the most part. However, during the orange breakout sessions, there are there is a specific honors session that your student can go to get a little bit more information on the honors college. And the registration will be slightly different because they have specific honors classes they have to take. However, the rest of Camp War Eagle, they will still be with their group the entire time. They'll still be participating in the same things that non-honor students are. It's really just those 2 times that they have an opportunity to sort of be branched off as an honors college.
So our next question is, where's the location for early arrival check-in? So it's going to be located in the Village residential area in Aubie Hall. So that's where all your students and guests can come check your students in.
Okay, the next question is, will students be taking math tests and language tests? So something different from when I went through Camp War Eagle to now is that students actually do not have to take a math placement test anymore. They use your SAT or ACT scores to sort of base what math your student can take. And if your student feels like they need to take a lower math, they definitely can. It's definitely not something to be ashamed of. I know I'm not great at math, but and then foreign language test, that's also on your confirmation letter. But if your student does want to take a foreign language, but they already have a background in that and they don't want to take the beginner level, they can take a foreign language placement test to go higher in those foreign language courses. However, if they have no experience, I know I've never taken French in my life, and I came here and I started in the beginners level, and I thought that was very helpful for me. I didn't bother taking the test. So your student does not have to take the foreign language placement test unless they just want to get a jump start in their foreign language courses.
So our next question is there a way to find out if any of our assigned roommates for the fall will be attending the same Camp War Eagle session? So as Hunter touched on earlier, this is going to depend on when housing emails that list out of who you are rooming with. So that's up to housing.
Yes, and something, just a personal experience with that, me and one of my roommates from freshman year did go to the same Camp War Eagle session. However, we were not roommates for Camp War Eagle, nor were we in the same group, but we still did have like late night options and orange breakouts, and to sort of go and experience the same things. However, just the majority was separate in our own individual groups. Okay, let's see. The next question is, we're arriving with our student the night before. Does our student stay in campus housing that night as well? So that's completely up to you guys and your student. Me and my parents arrived the night before, and I stayed at the hotel with them. However, a lot of people's parents will come and they will stay off campus, but their student will get that extra night on campus, to sort of just get a feel for living in the residence halls and meet some other people. So that's completely up to your student. If they want to stay in the residence hall the night before and they want to hang out with the other students, they definitely can. But if they want to stay off campus with you guys, they also can do that.
So our next question is, will our students be able to see the actual room in the residence halls they are assigned to? So they probably won't be able to see that specific room in that specific hall, but we will have one hall and a certain room open up in the same residential area that they'll be looking in. So go on one of those tours during orange breakout sessions.
Hey, the next question is, we're coming from out of state. What is there to do during Camp War Eagle if our 16-year-old is coming with us? So actually, the parent and guest program includes siblings of people going through Camp War Eagle if they so choose to participate. If she wants to come and sit in a small group, she wants to come, well, it might be a he, I'm sorry. If he or she wants to come and sit in a small group, wants to go on the bus tour, they definitely can do that. They will just not be with your student, they will be with you. So they will be going through the parent and guest program with you.
So our next question is, when do we find out about learning communities if our student has already applied? So that's something that you can come and talk to one of our representatives at Camp War Eagle, and they'll help you figure that out.
Okay, oh, sorry. The next question is, how do we obtain a second parking pass for Camp War Eagle? Well, we will be arriving separately from our student. So if you and your student are arriving separately, your student can actually go and park their car at the village, and they will get a parking pass there. But if you are parking the stadium deck, that is totally fine. You will just drive there and get another parking pass. So you will just be in two separate areas. You just have to keep that in mind whenever you show up for check-in.
So our next question is, will we find out what credits carry over from dual enrollment or AP classes, since this is a critical thing for scheduling? So day 2 of Camp War Eagle, you will have a chance to go talk to the advisors and hear about all of those options. And our camp counselors will also be able to help with that.
And our next question, I love this one. What's more fun, staying with parents the first night or checking in early? So like I said, my freshman year, I stayed with my parents. Love mom and dad dearly, but if I had to go back, I would honestly probably stay the night before, just because having done Camp War Eagle last summer, I did get to see a lot of the campers, see other campers, and interact with the counselors, and it just seemed like they were having so much fun. They got to go eat at some really nice restaurants in Auburn. And they just really got to have that bonding experience and really that residence life experience for 2 nights instead of 1. So I think it's up to your student. If your student prefers to stay with you guys, then I would definitely say you can do that for sure. But I know me, I'm a very extroverted person, so I didn't even think about staying in early because I didn't have a reason to per se because my parents were coming. However, I wish I kind of would have.
So for me, I'm a very introverted person, but I'm the same way as Hunter. I stay with my parents instead of going to early arrivals. And if I could go back, I would definitely choose to attend early arrivals instead because it is such a fun time. And it was a lot of fun for us last summer to get to see the freshmen interact with one another and make those friends that they could hang out with the next day of Camp War Eagle. And also it's a time where they can sit more one-on-one with the counselors and ask them any questions or concerns they have for Camp War Eagle.
Hey, the next question is, will we be able to use the rec center while we are at Camp War Eagle? So the answer to use the rec center is definitely no, unfortunately. However, they do have tours of the Recreation and Wellness Center during business hours. So if on day 2, y'all get done around 2 or so, and you want to go and take a tour of the rec center before you leave town, you definitely can. You just can't use the equipment and stuff. However, on day 2 at 6:45 in the morning, at 6 p.m. or 6 a.m. Wow. Wow. Okay, there is a Camp War Eagle parent run. So if you guys just really want to get that exercise in, I would definitely encourage that. I personally did not do it as a counselor. However, a lot of the counselors that were counselors with me did go and run with the parents, and that's also with Health and Wellness on campus. So they really get to see that. The therapy dog comes and runs too. His name is Moose. He is precious. And you also get a t-shirt out of it. So.
Yeah, I definitely recommend if you're someone that likes to run and wants to see more of campus, go on that parent run. So our next question is, when are the fees due? So the first bill goes out in late July, but we'd also like y'all to go find out a little bit more about that, the Student Financial Services session, and also you can refer to Financial Services website for that.
Hey, our next question is, what time is early arrival? So early arrival begins at 5:30 and goes till about 9:30 at night. So what early arrival entails is you show up and you register and you check in, and that's really simple. Your student can go put their things in the residence hall they're staying in the specific room, and you guys actually, if you come, you can actually go set that up with your student if you so choose to do. And then there are going to be 4 dinner shifts that leave at 6:30, 7, 8, 30 or 7:30 and 8. And you can go to several different dining locations near campus, and then you come back and you have the option to do inside games and watch TV, or you can go outside and play outdoor games, or your student can go to bed if they want to. But I definitely would encourage them to participate in some of the activities that we have.
So our next question is, how long is the parent run? And it is about a 5K, but we also would like y'all to know you can run at any pace you like. We have parents that speed up and do the whole thing really fast, and we have some parents who just kind of jog along or even bike along if you'd like to.
Yeah, one of the great things about Auburn is we do have a bike share program. So you can check out one of those bikes. You have to download the app. It's really simple. And you can check out one of our Auburn bikes and bike along with the parent run. So if you like to work out, but you don't like to run, you can bike that 5K.
Yeah, that's something I might actually do this year is bike the parent run instead of actually running it. Because like Hunter, I never got the opportunity to do that last year.
Yeah, I'm not big on running, but I do love to bike. We have a question coming in. Stay tuned. Okay, so this question is, if my student will be bringing her car in the fall, when and where do we get information on signing up for a parking pass? So if you check parking's website, you can definitely find that information ahead of time or contact them. However, that's another thing that's going to be talked about in your small groups and in your students' Tiger Talks. So how Auburn works is we have residential parking zones for people living on campus, and there's one designated to each area, but we also have residential overflow because we don't have the capacity to give everybody who lives in a residential area a spot right next to that. I had residential overflow my freshman year, and it's honestly was not that bad. Like the Tiger Transits run directly to it, so you can get to your car easily. But then also, if your student is living off campus, you have commuter and preferred commuter parking. So once again, I had the commuter one, which is the cheaper but a little bit further out option. And I never had a problem because next to my parking lots, there was always a Tiger Transit that would run. Or one of my C's actually ended up right next to one of my classes, so it was really great my first semester having it.
So our next question is, do we get Tiger cards during Camp War Eagle? So if your student does take initiative and go ahead and send that Tiger card information in, I think 3 days prior to Camp War Eagle, they will give them their Tiger cards during Camp War Eagle on day 1. But aside from that, we do ask that you get the Tiger card outside of the Camp War Eagle schedule. It is possible still, but just not during part of our schedule.
The next question is, does my student need to bring sheets to Camp War Eagle? Yes. Or
Please.
sheets, a sleeping bag, whatever your student prefers for that comfy, cozy night in the residence halls, definitely bring. The only things provided are shower curtains and toilet paper and trash bags. So anything else that your student wants for that night, they definitely should bring. I brought sheets, but I know a lot of people who just brought a sleeping bag and put it on top of the mattress. Whatever works for your student, I would definitely encourage them to, yes, bring that.
And also bring a towel because I can guarantee that they will want to take a shower after day 1 because there is a lot of walking around.
And if you have any other questions about what to bring, it's all on that confirmation letter that you guys should be receiving. And so you should really have a better idea of what you need to pack for Camp War Eagle there.
So our next question is, are there any special events during Camp War Eagle for Auburn alumni? And there aren't any special events, but we do give y'all a nice little ribbon to hang off your name tag. And it's something my mom went to Auburn, and I remember going to Camp War Eagle. She was so excited to get that little ribbon that showed she was a former Auburn student.
All right, the next question is, do you recommend my student bringing a car on campus in the fall, even if they're living on campus? So this is kind of a tough one because I personally did have my car on campus freshman year. I'm just from outside of Birmingham, so it's not too far. However, it is definitely not required by any means. So if you don't have a reason, if your student doesn't need their car or doesn't feel like they need their car, they probably don't. There's plenty of ways to get around. We have a Tiger Transit shopping shuttle that'll take you to grocery stores and the surrounding areas. A lot of restaurants and businesses are in walking distance from campus, so that's totally fine too. And your student will make friends with people who do have cars. So it's very easy to get around without a car. I just had mine personally.
I had my car my freshman year, and I lived in the Quad residential area, and I probably used my car about 3 times. But that, once again, is up to you and your students, and it's going to vary per student. So our next question is, if our student is living on campus, do they still have to apply for a parking pass? Yes, as Hunter was saying earlier, there are several areas for parking on campus, so they still do have to enter that.
Okay, the next question is, can you talk about the meal plan? So if your student is living on campus, the meal plan is a required $995 per semester, which sounds like a lot of money. But really your student will, if they're like me, will blow it in 2 months. And you guys will not be super happy with them. But, and if your student is living off campus, then it's a required $300 a semester. However, we do have a rollover system in place. So say you have that $995 in the fall, but you only use $900 of it. So you will have in the spring that other $995 plus an extra $95 because your student had that rollover money. And then it will once again roll over into the summer. So if your student is staying here, they can use that. If they are not staying here, but they come to just to Auburn to hang out for like a week in the summer, they can still go to Chick-fil-A and swipe that Tiger card and get that food. However, it does not roll over from a summer to a fall. So they definitely need to make sure that Tiger card is empty by the end of the summer, or else they will lose money. But you also do have an optional dining account that you can add money onto if your student runs out of money like I did. And so I know this semester I had to add money to mine because I was living off campus for the first time, and it was a lot. And I eat a lot. So I definitely had to use that, but it's really great because Tiger Dining will usually do promotions where they give you an extra bonus like 10% or 15% of money when you add on to that optional dining account.
So our next question is, should our student bring a pillow to Camp War Eagle? If they like using a pillow at home, tell them bring a pillow for Camp War Eagle, because definitely they're going to want to have a good night's sleep.
Okay, when should we expect to receive the confirmation info? And is that in the mail or via email? That should be coming with a packet via the mail, I do believe. It just depends on when your session is and when you registered for Camp War Eagle when you would get it. But you definitely should be getting that in the mail before your Camp War Eagle session. So I think I got mine about approximately 2 weeks or so before I went to Camp War Eagle. So just be looking out for that all summer.
So we have about 5 minutes left, so we're going to take 2 more questions. So please email any other questions to parent@auburn.edu. So if we didn't specify staying the night before Camp War Eagle, will your students still be able to get into a room? Yes, if we do have students who didn't plan on going to early arrival and spending the night in Aubie Hall, we can still get those students in. They'll just have to come for a check-in for early arrivals.
Okay, and this last question that Christina and I are going to answer is one that I absolutely love because it was something that I was afraid of my freshman year. But is laundry on campus coin operated or using the Tiger card? So you can put in quarters to laundry on campus and it will run. It's $125 per load. However, there is this thing called a Tiger Club account that is on your Tiger card that you can add additional money to separately. And so that will be specified for some off-campus eating locations, but also laundry. And I got Tiger Club money put on my Tiger card, and I only used it for laundry. And it was the best thing that I could ever ask for. Instead of having to save all my quarters, I could just walk to the laundry room in my hall and just swipe my card, and it would do that for me. But also, if your student is living in South Donahue, they will have a washer and dryer in their unit that they do not have to pay for. So that's one of the extra amenities at South Donahue that we don't have in all the other residence halls.
So our last question, we'll take one more, is when the student checks in the morning, will they at that point drop off their bags in the residence hall room? So we will transport all the bags from check-in to the village, and your student will meet their bags at the village, grab them, and have time to take them up to their room. So thank y'all so much for all the questions. Hunter and I are both so excited to get to meet y'all in person when you come through Camp War Eagle session.
Yeah, we're really excited to see you guys, and really excited for you guys to meet our parent counselors that are really going to guide you guys through this journey and really give you a lot of valuable information you can pass along to your students.
Thank y'all for
Thank you, and War Eagle.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Christina and Hunter, so much. Like they said, I would just reiterate how excited we are to meet you all over the summer. And if there's anything you need or if your questions did not get answered, please just go ahead and email those to parent@auburn.edu, and we will get them filtered. Either I will respond or I will send them over to Chris and his team if they are Camp War Eagle specific questions. So thank you guys so much, and War Eagle.